Hello dear aspirants, welcome to Epitome IAS. So we are doing this PYQ analysis series. In this we have completed the Constitution of India topic yesterday. Today we are going to complete the Constitution of India part 2. So let us start with this first question. The first question is the provisions in the 5th schedule and the 6th schedule in the Constitution of India are made in order to option A, protect the interests of scheduled tribes. Option B, determine the boundaries between the states. Option C, determine the powers, authorities and responsibilities of panchayats. Option D, protect the interest of all the border states. So yesterday we actually talked about the 5th schedule and the 6th schedule of the constitution, and these two schedules are directly related to the protection of interest of the tribal areas and the scheduled areas. So the first option, option A, to protect the interests of the scheduled tribe, this would be the right answer. So now let us go to the next question. Before that, if you see here, yes, in Article 224 of the Constitution of Part 10, they have mentioned about the special system of administration which has been provided for some socially and economically backward areas. We call them as the scheduled areas or the tribal areas. So in the 6th schedule, we'll be seeing this special administration has been provided for 4 different states. What are these states? Assam, Tripura, Mizoram and Meghalaya. And apart from these 4 states, other states which have these certain scheduled areas, this comes under the 5th schedule of the constitution. So in this 5th schedule, we have 10 different states. So now the next question, economic justice as one of the objectives of the Indian constitution has been provided in, this question was asked in 2013. Option A, the preamble and the fundamental rights. Option B, the preamble and the directive principles of state policy. Option C, the fundamental rights and the directive principles of state policy. Option D, none of the above. So they are asking about the economic justice. So we have 3 types of justice, that is the political justice, the social justice and the economic justice. So what they are asking, this economic justice is mentioned in or provided in which part of the constitution? So before answering this question, let us have a look at the preamble. So this is the preamble of our constitution and they are asking about the justice part. So if you see here, in the justice, we have social justice, economic justice and the political justice, which is provided in the preamble of the constitution. So one option would be the preamble. And if you see in Article 38 of the constitution, that is nothing but it comes under the DPSP, that is Directive Principles of State Policy. So in Article 38, the constitution provides for to promote the welfare of the people by securing social, economic and political justice. So if you see here, they have mentioned the economic justice as well. So if we go back to the question, in option B, the preamble and the directive principles of state policy, this would be the correct answer. In the fundamental rights, there is no mention of any economic justice. So this option and this option is actually wrong. The economic justice is only provided in the preamble and the directive principles of state policy. So now let us go to the next question. Okay, before that, if we see here, what is social justice? Social justice is nothing but equal treatment given to all citizens without any social discrimination based on caste, religion, gender, etc. This is social justice. No citizen should be discriminated based on his caste or his religion or his gender. Okay, this is social justice. And it also has this particular point, that is absence of privileged class. So if we see what you say, before independence, we had this untouchability, and particular caste are not allowed to enter the temple. Particular caste are not allowed to drink water from the well. So these are some sort of, what you say, some caste are given some privileges, and some caste are treated as untouchability. So this particular provision, absence of privilege class. So no particular caste or class should be given privilege. This is one of the provision of the social justice. And the second point is improvement in the conditions of the backward classes. What are the backward classes? The OBC, the SC, the ST, the women. So these are some of the backward and the weaker section of the society. So the government, the state should provide provisions for the improvement of this backward classes and the weaker section of the society. So this is known as social justice. And what is economic justice? Economic justice is nothing but you should not discriminate any citizen based on their economic or their income inequalities. This is known as economic justice. The state should provide provisions for, or it should come up with the policies to eliminate the economic and income inequalities. Okay, this is economic justice. And what is political justice? Equal political rights should be given to every citizen of India. What are the political rights? Political rights are nothing but if you are going to vote. So there should be no discrimination based on the gender or based on the religion or based on the caste. Every citizen has the right to vote, and every citizen has the right to stand in an election, and every citizen has the right to access to the political offices. These are the political justice. And if you see the next question, consider the following statements. Statement number 1, an amendment to the Constitution of India can be initiated by an introduction of a bill in Lok Sabha only. Statement 2, if such an amendment seeks to make changes in the federal character of the Constitution, the amendment also requires to be ratified by the legislature of all of the states of India. So yesterday we saw the procedure for the amendment of the Constitution. Let us once recall this procedure. So this is the procedure for amendment of the Constitution. This has been given by the Article 368 in Part 20 of the Constitution. If you see here, the first point is the bill shall only be initiated in the Parliament. It can be either House, either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, but it cannot be initiated in any state legislature. The constitutional amendment bill can only be initiated in the Parliament. It can be either Lok Sabha or either Rajya Sabha. Then second point, by either minister or private member. Both minister and private member can initiate the amendment bill. And yesterday we already saw who is the private member. Other than the ministers, the other members of the Parliament are called as the private member. Then the third point is no prior permission of the President is needed. There is no requirement of permission from the President to introduce the bill. Then the fourth point, must be passed in each house, both in Lok Sabha and in Rajya Sabha with special majority. And fifth point, in case of disagreement, there is no provision for joint sitting. In case of an normal constitutional, ordinary bill, in case of an ordinary bill, there is a provision called joint sitting if there is a disagreement between the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. But in case of a constitutional amendment bill, there is no provision for joint sitting. And if you see here in the sixth point, for amending any federal feature, this is the point which has been asked in this question. To amend any federal feature given in the Constitution, the Parliament, not only with the special majority, it also needs the support from the states. At least half of the states should ratify this particular bill. And which majority is needed? Only simple majority is needed in the state. But at least half of the state should ratify this. Not all of the states, at least half of the states. And the seventh point is the president must give his assent. He cannot withhold or he cannot send it for reconsideration. The president must give his assent to the constitutional amendment bill after it has been passed by both Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. So now let us go back to this question. So what they are saying is, in the first statement they are saying that the constitutional amendment bill can only be introduced in Lok Sabha. Is that true? Just now we saw that it can be introduced in both Lok Sabha and in Rajya Sabha. So this particular statement is wrong. And second statement, if such an amendment seeks to make changes in the federal character, the amendment also requires the ratification by the legislature of all states of India. Is that true? No. At least half of the states of India should be ratifying this particular bill. So this statement is also wrong. So the answer would be option D, neither 1 nor 2. So question number 4. Which of the following provisions of the Constitution of India have a bearing on education? 1. Directive principles of state policy. 2. Rural and urban local bodies. 3. 5th schedule. 4. 6th schedule. 5. 7th schedule. So they are asking which of the provisions of the Constitution have the bearing of the education. If you see the directive principles of state policy, Article 45 of the Constitution talks about the early childhood care education of children up to 6 years. So this is talking about education. So yes, this point is there. Then second point is rural and urban local bodies. This rural and urban local body is nothing but schedule 11 and 12 of the Constitution. The Panchayati Raj and the municipal bodies. And they are given some subjects. So education is also one of the subject which is given to the rural and urban local bodies. So this statement is also correct. And if we see here in the third statement, they have given 5th schedule. We already saw the 5th schedule. It is for development of the tribal area, scheduled areas. So there is one provision for the development of education in those particular areas. So again, this provision, the 5th schedule, has the bearing of education. And in 6th schedule, there is something called as autonomous tribal council. So this particular local body has certain power in enacting certain laws in the education, in the subject of education. So this also comes, these two also comes. In the 7th schedule, if you see what is 7th schedule, it is the distribution of power between the center and state. We have union list, we have state list, we have concurrent list. Yes, we have education in the list. So the 7th schedule will also be having the bearing of education. So if you see, the answer would be all of these things. So that is option D, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Yes, if you see here in Article 45, this is directive principle of state policy. They have given the early childhood care education below the age of 6 years. And in Schedule 11 and 12, the Panchayati Raj and the urban local bodies were allocated 29 and 18 subjects. 29 subjects for the Panchayati Raj and 18 subjects for the urban local bodies. So one of the subject is education. And if you see here in the 5th schedule, we know that it deals with the administration of scheduled areas and the tribal areas. And it talks about the advancement of the tribal education. And if you see the 6th schedule, it deals with the autonomous district councils, and they have the power to make certain laws with respect to education. And if you see in the 7th schedule, it deals with the distribution of powers between the center and the state, and education is also one of the subject, and it belongs to the concurrent list. This thing you have to remember. Then the next question. The instrument of instructions contained in the Government of India Act 1935 have been incorporated in the Constitution of India in the year 1950 as dash. Option A, fundamental rights. Option B, directive principles of state policy. Option C, extent of executive power of state. Option D, conduct of business of the Government of India. If you see, this instrument of instruction was given by the British government to the governors of India in the Act of 1935. This actually gives the instructions. So this is nothing but it is similar to the directive principles of state policy. It talks about the welfare state and it gives the idea how a state should function. So the correct answer would be option B. Then the next question, which schedule of the Constitution of India contains special provision for the administration and control of scheduled areas in several states? We are again and again seeing this particular topic revolving around with different forms. So now they are asking that which provision is talking about the administration of control of scheduled areas. So we already saw it is nothing but the fifth schedule of the Constitution. So option B is the right answer. So now let us go to the next question. Which one of the following subjects is under the Union list in the seventh schedule of the Constitution of India? Option A, regulation of labor and safety in mines and oil fields. Option B, agriculture. Option C, fishery. Option D, public health. This is a factual based question. So the Union list, it contains those topics which are of national importance. So the option A, the regulation of labor and safety in mines and oil fields, this belongs to the Union list. And the agriculture, fishery and public health, all these three belongs to the state list. So the next question, consider the following statements. Statement number 1, there is no provision in the Constitution of India to encourage equal pay for equal work for both men and women. Statement 2, the Constitution of India does not define backward classes. So if you see here, in the first statement they have mentioned that there is no provision to encourage equal pay for equal work. And if you remember, we have this provision actually in the DPSP. In Article 39D, it talks about equal pay for equal work for both men and women. So this particular statement is wrong. Then the second statement, the Constitution of India does not define backward classes. Yes, this is true. The Constitution of India has never defined the term backward classes. So this statement is correct. So the correct answer would be option B. So if you see here the next question, consider the following statements. Statement 1, the Constitution of India has 20 parts. Statement 2, there are 390 articles in the Constitution of India in all. Statement 3, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th schedules were added to the Constitution of India by the Constitution Amendment Acts. So if you see here, just by remembering the contents of the original Constitution, you can be able to answer this question. The original Constitution, it actually had 22 parts, but here they are given 20 parts. So this statement is wrong. Currently we have 25 parts to the Constitution. So this statement is wrong. Second statement, there are 390 articles. Again, in the original Constitution we had already 395 and now we have more than that. They have given less than 395. They have given 390. So this statement is also wrong. And the third statement, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th schedule has been added by the Constitutional Amendment Act. Yes, in the original constitution we have 8 schedules, which means the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, all these 4 schedules were added by the Constitutional Amendment Acts. So this particular statement, statement number 3 is correct. So the correct answer would be C, 3 only. And the next question, which one of the following statements correctly describes the 4th schedule of the Constitution of India? Option A, it contains the scheme of distribution of powers between the Union and the states. Option B, it contains the languages listed in the Constitution. Option C, it contains the provisions regarding the administration of tribal areas. Option D, it allocates seats to the Council of States. If you see here, the first statement, it is talking about the distribution of power between Union and the state. What is this? This is nothing but the 7th schedule of the Constitution. And if you see option B, it contains the languages listed in the Constitution. This is nothing but the 8th schedule of the Constitution. And option C, it contains the provisions regarding the administration of tribal areas. This is 5th schedule of the Constitution. And the 4th schedule actually talks about the allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha. So Rajya Sabha is nothing but the Council of States. So the answer option D is the right answer. So the next question is, with reference to the Constitution of India, which one of the following pairs is not correctly matched? Option A, forest concurrent list. Option B, stock exchanges concurrent list. Option C, post office savings bank union list. Option D, public health state list. Again, this is a factual question, but if you see here, the stock exchange, this is something of national importance. So this can't be in a concurrent list. It belongs to union list. So this particular statement is wrong. So the answer is option B, that does not match correctly. And the other options are correct. Forest concurrent list, yes. The post office savings bank union list, yes. Public health belongs to the state list. Then the next question. So here they have given the match the following. This side they have given the items which belongs to the Indian Constitution, and this side they have given the source of that particular provisions. So the first one, A, Directive Principles of State Policy. Second, Fundamental Rights. Third, Concurrent List in Union. Concurrent list in Union-State relations. D, India as a union of state with greater powers to union. So here they have given some of the sources where we have taken these particular provisions. Australia, Canada, Ireland, United Kingdom and USA. So if you remember, the Directive Principles of State Policy is taken from the Irish Constitution, which in fact taken it from the Spanish Constitution. And the fundamental rights, we know that it was taken from the USA, the America. Then the concurrent list in the union state relation, this has been taken from Australia. And what about India as a union with greater power to union? This was taken from Canada. So now let us find the correct answer. A, it is 3. So we can eliminate these two options. Then B, we have 5. Then C, we have 1. So D, this is the correct answer. If we see the next question, which of the following schedules of Indian Constitution lists the names of the states and specifies their territories? This is a simple basic question. That is the first schedule. First schedule talks about the union and its territories. So the option is A, Then, next question, if a new state of Indian Union is to be created, which one of the following schedules of the Constitution must be amended? Again, the same question in a different format. The new state to be formed, to be created, they should amend the first schedule of the Constitution because it talks about union and its territories. So the answer is option A. Which one of the following statements correctly describes the fourth schedule of the Constitution of India? Option A. It lists the distribution of powers between the union and the state. Option B. It contains the languages listed in the Constitution. Option C. It contains the provisions regarding the administration of tribal area. Option D. It allocates seats in the Council of States. The same question was repeated as it is in one of the previous question we saw this, right? So we know the correct answer, that is fourth schedule talks about the allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha. So the correct answer is option D. Next question. The Constitution of India recognizes option A only religious minorities, option B only linguistic minorities, option C religious and linguistic minorities, option D religious, linguistic and ethnic minorities. So if we see here, we have given this fundamental right of article 29 and 30, which talks about the protection of minority rights. They talk about both the religious and the linguistic minorities. So the correct answer is option C. Next question. An amendment of the Constitution of India can be initiated by Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, state legislature, president. So now you try to answer this question. We have already saw a number of questions from the amendment of the Constitution. So we saw that the constitutional amendment bill can either be introduced in a Lok Sabha or in a Rajya Sabha, but it cannot be introduced in the state legislature. So the answer would be yes Lok Sabha, yes Rajya Sabha. No, it can't be introduced by the state legislature. No, the president can't introduce a constitutional amendment bill. So the answer would be 1 and 2, option D. So here again the procedure of the amendment of constitution is written. You can have a look at it. The next question, which one of the following schedules of the Constitution of India contains provisions regarding the anti-defection law? Anti-defection law, we have read this basic fact, 10th schedule. The 10th schedule has the provision of anti-defection law. So the answer is option D, 10th schedule. And if you see here, this 10th schedule was inserted in the Constitution by the 52nd Amendment Act of 1985. It lays down the process by which legislators may be disqualified on the grounds of defection by the presiding officer. And this applies to both Parliament and the state legislative assemblies. If you see how they will be disqualifying member, let's say there is a member of a house, both Parliament or any state legislature. So if he belongs to any particular party, but he voluntarily giving up his membership after he getting elected, so then his membership will be disqualified. Then the second thing is oaths or does not vote in the legislature. Let's say the party head is telling him to vote for particular cause, but this particular person is not voting, he is going against the party head, then he will be disqualified contrary to the directions of his party head. If an independent member, this is another provision, that let's say a candidate is an independent member, but after getting elected he is joining any political party, then again he is disqualified. Then if a nominated member, he has an option within 6 months he can join any political party, but after 6 months, if he is joining any political party, he will be disqualified. There are some conditions where the disqualification is not happening. What are they? That is, when 2/3 of the party members are going to merge with another party, so then this disqualification is not happening. In such a scenario, neither the members who decide to merge nor the ones who stay with the original party will face disqualification. So the next question. So if you see here, they have given the preamble, the contents of the preamble here. And what they are asking? They are asking what is this X, this dash. So they have given some of the dates in this option. So you have to find out the correct date. So yesterday we actually saw the preamble and we also saw which date was there in this particular space. It was 26th November 1949. This day, the Constituent Assembly, it enacted or adopted the Constitution. So that's why the correct answer would be the 26th day of November 1949. Option B. That is the right answer. The next question. Which of the following are matters on which a constitutional amendment is possible only with ratification of legislatures not less than 1/2 of the states? So basically they are asking what are those federal features which need the ratification of half of the states when the parliament is trying to amend those particular provisions. What options they have given? Statement 1, election of president. Statement 2, representation of states in the parliament. Statement 3, any of the list in the 7th schedule. And statement 4, abolition of legislative councils of a state. Before answering this question, let us have a look at what are those topics which need the ratification of half of the states. So the first point would be the election of President of India. If the Parliament want to amend this particular provision related to the election of President of India, it needs support or the ratification from the at least half of the states. And the second point is powers of Supreme Court and the High Court. Then the third point is scheme of distribution of legislative, taxing, administrative powers between the union and state. That is, the different powers between union and the state, one of them come in the 7th schedule of the constitution. And the representation of states in the parliament. What is representation of state? That is the Rajya Sabha. Rajya Sabha is direct representation of states in the parliament. And also the Article 368. Article 368 is the amending procedure of constitution is mentioned in the Article 368. To amend this particular article also, the parliament needs the support of half of the states. So if we see here the election of president, yes, this needs the support of the states. The representation of states in the parliament, yes, this also needs the support of the states. Any of the list which is mentioned in the 7th schedule, this is also, it also needs the support of the states. And abolition of legislative council, no, we have not read this in that particular slide. So these are the 3 provisions which need the support of at least half of the states. So the correct answer would be 1, 2 and 3, option A. So that's all students. See you in the next class. Thank you.